Listen to me, my friends. The spark in your relationship isn't something that magically disappears, it's something you either feed or you starve, and I'm here to tell you it's not about luck, it's about strategy. Passion is not an accident, it's a practice. If you want to keep the bedroom spark alive, you have to understand this simple truth. Intimacy is not just about the body, it's about the soul. Passion is born from emotional connection, and that connection is built in everyday moments, not just in the bedroom. When you deeply connect with your partner on an emotional level, you create an invisible bridge that keeps both of you drawn to each other, no matter how many years go by. Think about the early days of your relationship, the way you couldn't wait to hear their voice, the way you noticed every little detail about them, the way you hung on to every word. That wasn't just attraction, it was connection. And the truth is, you can recreate that same energy today if you choose to nurture it. Emotional connection is about making your partner feel truly seen and understood. It's listening without scrolling through your phone. It's asking about their day and actually caring about the answer. It's noticing when something is off, even if they don't say it out loud, and letting them know you're there. This is where passion begins, when your partner feels safe enough to be their true self around you without fear of judgment. When emotional connection fades, physical intimacy becomes mechanical. It turns into an obligation instead of a desire. But when you keep that emotional bond alive, physical intimacy becomes an expression of love, not just an act. You stop going through the motions and you start creating moments that feel exciting and meaningful. This is why couples who stay emotionally close often have more satisfying sex lives, even after decades together. To strengthen this connection, you need to make a conscious effort to engage in activities that bring you closer outside the bedroom. Share experiences, not just chores. Go for walks together, cook a meal side by side, reminisce about your favorite memories, or dream together about your future. These shared experiences create emotional intimacy that naturally spills over into physical intimacy. Don't underestimate the power of appreciation. When you tell your partner what you love about them, when you thank them for the small things, when you notice their effort, you're fueling their emotional tank. And a full emotional tank often leads to a desire for physical closeness. Attraction grows when people feel valued and desired, not just for what they do, but for who they are. Remember, passion isn't about grand gestures every day. It's about consistency in the little things. Hold hands more often, make eye contact when you talk, touch them gently as you pass by, smile at them like you did when you first met. Every one of these moments adds a thread to the bond you share, making it stronger and deeper over time. If you want the spark in your bedroom to burn bright, keep the fire in your heart burning first. When emotional connection is alive and well, intimacy doesn't have to be forced, it becomes the most natural, irresistible thing in the world. Most relationships don't lose their spark because two people stop loving each other, they lose it because they stop communicating honestly about what they want, what they feel, and what they need. In the beginning, everything feels effortless. You share openly, you express your desires without overthinking, and you're curious about each other. But over time, silence can sneak in. You start assuming your partner should just know what you need, or you hold back because you don't want to cause conflict, or you're afraid they might not respond the way you hope. The problem is, when we stop speaking up, we also stop giving our partner the chance to meet us in the middle. Open, fearless communication is one of the most powerful ways to keep intimacy alive. It means being able to talk about your needs, both emotional and physical, without shame or fear of judgment. It's about saying, "This is what makes me feel loved," or "This is what turns me on," without worrying that your partner will think less of you. When you create a space where both of you can share freely, you remove one of the biggest intimacy killers, unspoken resentment. Unspoken resentment builds slowly. Maybe you wish your partner would initiate intimacy more often. Maybe you want more romance, more touch, or more passion in your conversations. But instead of expressing it, you keep it to yourself, hoping they'll magically figure it out. Over time, this gap widens, you start feeling disconnected, and that disconnection eventually makes its way into the bedroom. Honest communication stops that from happening by making sure both partners know exactly what fuels each other's desire. It's not just about what you say, it's how you say it. Communication should be an invitation, not an accusation. Instead of saying, "You never do this," try saying, "I love it when you do this, and I'd love to experience it more often." This shifts the focus from blame to desire. which keeps the conversation warm and constructive rather than defensive. Listening is just as important as speaking. If your partner trusts you enough to share their needs, listen without judgment. Even if what they're asking for is different from your usual comfort zone, approach it with curiosity, ask questions, explore possibilities together. Sometimes simply being heard is enough to reignite emotional closeness, which then sparks physical passion. The more you normalize these conversations, the more natural they become. You stop feeling awkward about talking about sex or romance, and instead, it becomes part of your relationship culture. This openness makes it easier to adapt to each other's changing needs over time, which is critical because desire isn't static, it evolves. When you remove fear from communication, you create a relationship where both partners feel safe to be their authentic selves. And when someone feels safe, they're more willing to be vulnerable, adventurous, and deeply connected both emotionally and physically. That's when the spark stops fading and starts glowing brighter than ever. One of the fastest ways to let passion slip away is to fall into the trap of routine. When every day looks the same, every week follows the same pattern, and intimacy happens in the same predictable way, the mind starts to disengage. Passion thrives on curiosity and excitement, and the human brain is wired to crave novelty. In the beginning of a relationship, everything feels electric because everything is new: the way they smile, the way they touch you, the way they laugh at something you say. Over time, if you stop creating new experiences together, that sense of discovery fades, and with it, the intensity of your attraction. Novelty doesn't have to mean grand or expensive gestures. It's about breaking patterns, surprising each other, and keeping a sense of play alive. Maybe it's trying a new restaurant or cooking a meal you've never made before. Maybe it's taking a spontaneous weekend trip or simply rearranging your bedroom to give it a fresh energy. Even small changes like lighting candles, playing a different kind of music, or wearing something unexpected can signal to your partner that you're willing to keep things interesting. Playfulness is just as important as novelty. Flirting, teasing, and having fun with each other outside the bedroom builds anticipation for what might happen inside it. Think back to how much you used to joke and laugh together in the early days. That lighthearted energy is powerful because it lowers stress, boosts connection, and makes intimacy feel exciting instead of obligatory. Passion isn't only about physical attraction. It's about emotional chemistry, and playfulness is the spark that keeps that chemistry alive. It's easy to think, we've been together so long, we already know everything about each other. But that's rarely true. People grow, change, and evolve. There are always new layers to discover if you stay curious. Ask different questions, share fantasies you've never talked about, or explore a new hobby together. These shared adventures not only give you something new to talk about, but they also create fresh memories that become part of your love story. In the bedroom, novelty can mean experimenting with new ways of connecting, exploring different forms of touch, or introducing small surprises that keep your partner intrigued. This doesn't mean you need to reinvent everything. Even subtle changes can have a big impact when they are done with intention. The key is to signal that you care enough about the relationship to keep investing effort. When novelty and playfulness are missing, intimacy can start to feel like a routine chore. But when you reintroduce them, you breathe life back into your connection. You remind each other why you fell in love, and you create a space where attraction can grow stronger instead of fading. Passion isn't something you find once and keep forever. It's something you keep creating over and over again by staying curious, staying playful, and never letting your partner feel like the best days are behind you. One of the biggest misconceptions in relationships is believing that intimacy will just happen naturally. In the early days, it often does because everything feels fresh, and both partners are actively making time for each other. But as life fills up with work deadlines, family responsibilities, financial pressures, and daily routines, intimacy can slowly get pushed to the bottom of the priority list. Without realizing it, couples start replacing romantic moments with logistical conversations, and physical closeness becomes something they fit in if there's time. The problem is, if you keep waiting for the perfect moment, it may never come. Passion doesn't survive on leftover time and energy. It thrives when it's given a place of importance in your life. Prioritizing intimacy means making a conscious decision to protect and nurture your closeness, no matter how busy life gets. It's about recognizing that your connection with your partner is the foundation for everything else in your shared life. When that foundation is strong, you handle stress better, you feel more supported, and you have more joy to give in other areas. When it's weak, even small challenges can feel overwhelming. Making intimacy a priority doesn't always mean scheduling sex, though for some couples that works well. It means creating intentional moments of closeness on a regular basis and protecting those moments from interruptions. That could be a weekly date night, a morning coffee together before the day starts, or an evening walk where you leave your phones at home. The point is to carve out time that is just for the two of you, where you're not discussing bills, chores, or the kids' homework, but focusing on each other as lovers and partners. In the bedroom, prioritizing intimacy means showing up with presence, not just going through the motions. It's about creating an environment where both of you can relax, feel desired, and enjoy the experience without feeling rushed or distracted. Sometimes that might mean saying no to other commitments so you can say yes to each other. Other times it might mean preparing yourself mentally and physically so you're fully engaged in the moment, not half, thinking about tomorrow's to-do list. This kind of intentional focus sends a powerful message: you matter. Our relationship matters. When your partner feels like they're important enough to be prioritized, it deepens emotional security, which in turn fuels physical passion. Over time, this consistent investment compounds. Small, regular moments of intimacy build a stronger, more resilient bond than occasional bursts of passion that fade away. If you want the spark to last for years, you can't treat intimacy like an optional extra. You have to treat it like the lifeblood of your relationship, something worth making space for, even when life gets busy. Because at the end of the day, careers will change, kids will grow up, routines will shift, but the closeness you nurture with your partner will be the thing that keeps your love alive, both inside and outside the bedroom. If you want to keep passion alive, you have to understand that your physical and mental well-being are deeply tied to your ability to show up fully in your relationship. You can't bring high energy, desire, and enthusiasm to intimacy if you're constantly exhausted, stressed, or disconnected from your own body. Many couples overlook this truth. They focus on fixing the relationship without realizing that the way they care for themselves directly impacts the way they connect with their partner. When you take care of your health and mindset, you're not just doing it for yourself, you're doing it for the relationship too. Physical well-being plays a huge role in attraction. It's not about achieving a perfect body, it's about having the energy, confidence, and vitality to be present and engaged. When you're physically active, eating well, and getting enough rest, you naturally have more stamina, a better mood, and a stronger sense of self-worth. This radiates into your relationship. You move differently, you smile more, you feel more comfortable with touch, and your partner can sense that. Confidence is magnetic, and it grows when you treat your body with care and respect. Mental and emotional health are equally important. Stress, anxiety, and unresolved emotions can drain intimacy faster than almost anything else. When your mind is constantly in survival mode, it's hard to shift into a state of openness and connection. That's why it's essential to have habits that keep your mental space clear and positive, whether that's journaling, meditating, going for walks, or talking things through with someone you trust. A calm, grounded mind allows you to be more patient, more playful, and more attentive to your partner. Another part of well-being is self-awareness. When you're in tune with your own needs and feelings, you're better able to communicate them and receive what your partner is offering. People often expect their partner to fix their mood or create the spark for them, but intimacy works best when both partners bring their own energy to the table. This means taking personal responsibility for your happiness, your self-care, and your growth. There's also a ripple effect. When one partner takes better care of themselves, it often inspires the other to do the same. Imagine the difference between coming home, drained and irritable every night versus walking in with a smile, good energy, and the mental space to connect. That shift changes the atmosphere of the relationship and creates an environment where passion can thrive. Attraction and intimacy are not just about what happens between the sheets, they're about the energy you bring into the room. When you feel good in your own skin and clear in your mind, you naturally become more open, more affectionate, and more adventurous. Keeping the bedroom spark alive isn't only about what you do with your partner, it's about how you take care of yourself so you can bring your best self into the relationship day after day. The sweetest, most lasting kind of passion isn't built on rare, grand gestures. It's built on the consistent, small acts of love that happen every single day. These little moments may seem simple, even ordinary, but they are the quiet fuel that keeps a relationship warm and connected over the years. Big romantic surprises might make your partner's heart race for a night, but it's the steady rhythm of daily affection that keeps that heart open for a lifetime. Daily acts of love are about showing your partner, in countless small ways, that they matter to you. It might be making them a cup of coffee in the morning exactly the way they like it. It could be sending a quick text in the middle of a busy day just to say you're thinking of them. It might be reaching for their hand when you're walking together or brushing their shoulder as you pass by. These moments are like emotional deposits into a shared account. The more you put in, the richer your connection becomes. One of the most powerful things about small gestures is that they create a sense of emotional safety. When someone consistently feels loved, appreciated, and valued, they're more open to physical closeness and more willing to be vulnerable. Intimacy flourishes when you know your partner sees you, not just during passionate moments, but in the quiet in-between spaces of life. Acts of love don't always have to be physical. Words matter too. A sincere compliment, a thank you for something your partner did, or a simple I love you, can shift the entire tone of a day. The key is sincerity, going beyond habit to make sure the other person truly feels the meaning behind your words. When appreciation becomes a habit, resentment has a much harder time finding its way into the relationship. These daily moments also act as a buffer during challenging times. Life will inevitably bring stress, disagreements, and difficult seasons. But when you've built a strong foundation of affection and appreciation, you have a reserve of goodwill that makes it easier to weather those storms. You're reminded, even in the middle of an argument, of the many ways your partner shows up for you every day. When you think about it, the spark in the bedroom often starts far outside of it. If your partner feels cherished during ordinary moments, they're more likely to be emotionally and physically responsive when intimacy happens. The connection deepens, the trust grows, and the passion becomes more sustainable because it's grounded in everyday love, not just fleeting excitement. Keeping love alive isn't about constantly trying to recreate the high of the first few months. It's about building a life where affection is woven into the fabric of your days. Those daily acts of love are the threads, and together they create a bond strong enough to hold both the sweetness and the heat of your relationship for years to come.